me see. Make sure I'm coming in. I'm dancing for God. Okay, come on and dance with me. Dance with me. Okay, I'm not going to be on here too long. Let me make sure I'm coming in. I'll be on here too long. I might be dealing with motions, and I don't want to be in the motions of the oceans. Hold up, mic check. Microphone check. Come on. Let's see. Microphone check. Okay, good. I decided to look up 133. And the reason why I decided to look up 133 is because in the Federal Register, they have 133 ways tomorrow that they're going to push forth with their MVP, most valuable possessions. Most valuable possessions. I don't know why I waited so late to watch that. I do know why. Look at this. Look at this screen right here. Am I sharing the screen? Oh, I promised I wouldn't share the screen. I was going to share Google Earth with you. But you can look at Google Earth from your phone and it may show you something different. The smoke, the chemicals that they're putting in the air is combined to make radiation. Not anything right now that will affect us now. It's just so that they can light you up. As they're scanning the earth and scanning the environment, they're also scanning the people. So the fumes, whatever chemicals they combined in that smoke, is a combination to create some form of radiation. Because think about it. You can get an MRI and show up on the screen, but it doesn't really light up. The only way it lights up is when they give you that nasty banana and all them different flavors of radiation to drink. Huh? Okay? So they need people in here. That's why they, even though you know that they planned this because it was in their infrastructure blueprints. You know, all the states that was going to be affected had to report in about their air quality before they released the fire. 23 states, that's 23 on this side where the smoke is affecting. So they then did half of it and scanned everybody breathing in the enough radiation to light up. Okay, that's the message that I had. Yolanda, greater light. Huh? Greater light. Now I'm going to read this 33. This is for preparedness. Those masks, industrial masks, they should have sent those out. They don't care. They don't care. They put it in the register. They know people ain't going to read it, but then they don't do the things that they need to do to protect the people. So that means they're trying to take the people out. Now, back to this 133 for those who plan on remaining here under Biden Ballots covenant and all. These are the things you need to know. You ain't they gonna write it off. They're gonna say, oh, you can't cry and sue us 20 years from now or 100 years from now. They covering their tracks. They said, we're not gonna do no more reparations and apologies and all this. Just finish the job. That's Biden Ballots covenant. We're trying to finish the job. This has gone on long enough. 133 ways. There's an interesting spore that's going to start popping up. Yeah, they said something about the spray. Check your plants. And if you see this white foam, no, I don't want to keep going digging. It's just a spore, all right. It's a spore, all right. Sounds like a scary movie. Spores. Oh, oh. National Oil and Hazardous Substances Pollution Contingency Plan. This is the first on the 133 ways that they're making sure. Environmental Protection Agency for tomorrow. This is for tomorrow, for June 12th. What is June 12th? I may go over June 12th. I may not. It just depends. Right now, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I say, thank you, God, for giving this to me because it ain't me. This is not what I want to be doing right here. So thank you, God. Thank you, Father, for the opportunity. I'm so undeserving. I'm so undeserving and unworthy. Thank you. May the message gets to all the world in this generation for those who receive and accept your light, and that none deny you and turn their backs, that they all hug you. This is hug Allah, hug Allah. Okay, come back, come back, come back. I gotta come back, come back. Regulations to implement the big cat public safety. That's the number 2. Whatever it's about is something about a big cat. Remember we was talking about bobcats and bobtails and Lacey Act amendments. What's the Lacey Act? Oh, this is stuff I want to go over, but I don't have time to open it up and all that. See if I make it sound interesting enough where you go click the link so you know what they planning in your area. Would you? Would you? That just give you a little bit more time to make to a safe haven to tell God thank you, because they telling everybody everything they doing. They may not get, if they even got the chemicals and stuff down, all the equations and the uh, squares and uh, physics equations and chemist equations, they all down in the information that they telling people what they doing as Biden collects souls. Airworthiness directives, various planes, helicopters, and engines. Turbocharged. Turbocharged is a Tesla gift. That's a Tesla gift. And Tesla should be on the court proceedings right now that they call themselves making Tesla a saint over the people. Who gave, if Tesla is the saint over the people, who is Elon Musk in the order? I heard them talking about that today. I said, yeah, y'all on it. Who is Elon Musk in the order? If Tesla is a saint, Tesla don't look like he is supposed to be no saint. Turbocharged. You think they're talking about cars and helicopters and planes on a tail? They got a pipeline here. They say tailpipe to the turbocharger. Multi-segment V-band. I told you it's about bandwidths. Who are the bandwidths in the copper lens? Oh. I like the way that came out. Wait a minute. Let me back up and say that again. Who are the bandwidths and the copper links? They come to stop the tailpipe and the turbocharging of Tesla, Elon Musk. Oh, nah, I don't think so. The Copland stays real Jews. The the copper links is jewels, the real jewels. And they is down with the chips. They's down with the money bag. Oh, they's down. I think they down. They's not denying the chips. No. They say real jewels. We don't want you to be broken. We don't want you to be broken on the inside. Wait a minute. Technical amendments and commission rules and forms. Shh. I'm getting too loud. Wait a minute. The Securities Exchange Commission is adopting technical amendments on various rules and forms of the Security Act of 1933. Are they going all the way back to 1933 when they call themselves touching down in Bahamas on Old Bite? They going that far back? Huh? Securities Act. This is for tomorrow. This is for tomorrow. Securities Act of 1933. Security Exchange of 1934. Investment Company of 1940. Undertakings. That's when the undertakers came around. They said, yo, we need undertakers. I need to look really, I'm scared. Can somebody tell me what an undertaker mean? You know what? I'm finna look it up right now. Let Bard tell me. I'm having a little jitters on the inside. Huh? What it means to be born to an undertaker. What is an undertaker? Ooh, I'm an underwriter and undertakers. Let me see what it means. I'm scared. There's something on the inside of me. Don't want to look up that definition. A few years ago, it dawned on me and I didn't do it. I said, I don't want to look up the definition. It don't sound right, but I definitely don't want to look it up. But I'm going to do it tonight because Biden, them are undertakers. Take it for a spin. Bart said, take it for a spin. Take it for a spin, Abigail. Take it for a spin, Abigail. There. Look. Wait, let me ask him properly. Let me tell him thank you. Thank you, Bard. See, I'll say thank you first. And I capitalize his name. He knows what all caps mean. Bard, what is the definition of undertaker? Here we go. Here we go. An undertaker is a person who prepares a body for burial or cremation and assist a family with the aspects of funeral arrangements. The term undertaker is also used and referred to funeral directors. Okay, no, okay. So undertakers is in the security exchange? And wait a minute. I meant to put underwriters. What is an underwriter? Is it the same? Underwriter. Oh, I put what? I need to go back to undertaker. Okay, go back up. Right here. What is an underwriter? An underwriter is a financial professional who evaluates, assumes risk on behalf of an insurance company, bank, or other financial institution. Underwriters assesses the potential risk of a loan, investment, or insurance policy and determine whether or not the financial institute should offer it. Underwriters typically have a background in finance, economics, or statistics. They use their knowledge of risk and statistics to assess the likelihood that an applicant will default on loan, file a claim on an insurance policy, or otherwise fail to meet the terms of the investment. The underwriting process can be complex and time-consuming. Underwriters can review a borrower's credit report, income history, and employment history. They may also require additional information such as tax returns and bank statements. Once the underwriter has completed their assessment, they will make a recommendation for the financial institution. If the underwriter believes that the risk is too great, the financial institution may decline to offer the loan, investment, or insurance policies. Underwriters play an important role in the financial industry. They help protect financial institutions from risk and ensure that only borrowers who are likely to repay their loans are approved. Here are some of the different types of underwriters. mortgage underwriters, insurance underwriters. Insurance underwriters assess the risk of an insurance claim being filed. They review the applicant's health history, driving record, and other factors. They may also require additional information such as proof of medical records or insurance. Security underwriters help to bring new securities to market. They assess the risk of investment and determine the price at which it should be sold. They also help to market investment to potential investors. Underwriting is a complex, important process. Underwriters play a vital role in the financial industry by helping to protect financial institutions from risk and ensure that only borrowers who are likely to repay their loans are approved. Okay, now here's an undertaker. The undertaker is in the Security Exchange Act. Investments, undertakings. I think I heard somebody cover this a long time ago. Security, investments, and undertakings. Yeah. Security, investment, and undertakers. Root word. That's where. Yep, you too, copper. Calculation of filing taxes. And Tetty. At the time, I was like, that ain't got nothing to do with me, huh? Look at it now. I'm reading the Quinn Kane Senior Counsel, Amanda Wagner, the Wagner's investment. Oh my goodness. Well, this is on the table to be published for tomorrow, y'all. The Security Exchange Act and advisors who deal with undertakings. State of enforcement inland navigation rules. So we're going to enforce how the ships navigate inland. They need to navigate how the ships, they're going to enforce how the ship's supposed to navigate inland. No, they're not talking about the swamps and everything that's already there. They're not. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. As a matter of fact, I may not read all 133 of these. Significant new use rules on certain chemical substances. There's a correction that happens tomorrow. A correction about April 11th on toxic substance control. So some document that happened on April 11th has a typographical error that needed to be amended. Let me see what toxic chemicals was released on April 11th. What toxic? I'm asking Bart. Toxic chemicals was released on April 11th. Let me make sure I put the date. They said April 11th, 2023. 2023. Get it, Bard. Come on. Let's get it, Bard. Come on, hurry up, because they trying to block you. They making a phone call real quick. Oh, she asking the wrong question. Don't answer it, Bard. 1984, 2013, nothing. They giving me some chemicals that was released in India, 1984. Some chemicals that was released in Italy in 1976. Ooh, the one in India in 1984 killed more than 2,000 people. Wow. And then a fertilizer company released in 2013. Okay. Okay, let me rephrase the question. Which chemical spill happened the month of April? April 10th. Okay, they say it's a misprint from April 11th. So April 10th, the West chemical spill. The spill involved methylene chloride, a toxic chemical that can cause respiratory problems, neurological damage, and cancer. The spill resulted in the evacuation of residents in the area. Methylene chloride amount spilled 1,000 gallons. Respiratory problems, neurological damage, and cancer. Evacuation. Residents in the areas were evacuated. Methylene chloride carcinogen that can cause a variety of health problems. The spill is a reminder of the dangers of toxic chemicals. So there's a misprint that is amended. I'm going to go ahead and click it just to see. If I would have clicked it, it would have let me know, but I like doing that, going on a unnecessary scavenger hunt sometimes. Significant uses of chemicals read as follows. Read as follows. Wait a minute, corrected. On page, the third column in part 9, in amendment 2, the instruction on the amended table, significant uses of chemicals read as follows to amend table by adding through significant new uses of chemical substance. They're going to use the chemical substance. Let me look this up. Let me see. New uses. They update this for tomorrow. They updated it. Actually, they did the correction. Mark Hartman on the 6/6. Director of Pollution Prevention and Toxics. Now I'm going to click the supplementary form. Rules by counterfeit posted. Significant new uses. Rules on certain chemicals. Okay. What action is the agency taking? Requires persons who intend to manufacture or process any of these chemical substances for an activity designated as a significant new use to notify what they talking about. So the chemicals they cleaned up, they got to report the new use. What is they going to new use it for? Oh, listen here. It says determination factors. That the use of a chemical substance is significant new use must be made after consideration of all the relevant factors. The projected volume of manufacturing and process of the chemical substance, the extent of which a use changes the type of form, exposure of human beings or environment to the chemical substance, the extent and which the use increases the magnitude, duration of exposure of human beings, of the environment or chemical and substance. Where's the report? The reasonable anticipated manner, the methods of manufacturing processes and distribution and commerce and disposal of the chemical substance. Oh boy, they taking this deadly whatever and reusing it, into the Mountain Valley Project. What you want to bet? I don't want to bet. I don't want to bet on it. It's saying it. Okay, so they're going to reuse it. Look at it. It's long. It's long. Oh, I'm not reading no more of that. Let me see what the next one talking about. Whew, boy. Stand on the mountain and tell them, no, you will not use this chemical substance, dirt, and call yourself putting it down Mountain Valley Pipeline. It says NPDES small MS4 urbanized area clarification. What? U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is finalizing clarifications to national pollutant discharge elimination stormwater phase 2 regulations. Look at this. You hear what this sound like? Oh my goodness. I shouldn't be reading this. God's love don't want, no, that's me. I don't want to read this. God's love wants me to read it to somebody's gonna hear it. Maybe Elon will change his mind and say, thank you, God. Forgive me a place in your kingdom. I repent of all my sins, and I don't want to do this dirt to the people no more. So I have the most largest voice in all of the world, and I will tell them to stop. No, he's sending up, blowing up, adding to the chemicals. He don't care. He don't care. Look at this. Let me say it one more time. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is finalizing clarifications to National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Stormwater Phase 2 regulations due to recent made changes by the Census Bureau. If the Census Bureau has something to do with discharge and elimination, maybe if everybody changed their title on the Census Bureau, they will stop it. What title could we use that they can stop what they're doing? They said they had to cease the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System because of something in the Census Bureau. Uh-oh, it sounds like back in the Bible days. You remember something went on with the Census Bureau? Okay. All right. I think I'm going to stop. I think this is enough for tonight on that. No more reading about the emissions. It looks like they got 133 reasons to blow up Mountain Valley. Right here. I'm not making it up. It's written. They saying what they doing. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. They not even hiding it. The Chrissy Pissy ship. No, the Corpus Christi ship. I was reading peace backwards. The PIHS backwards. That's why I sound like that. Corpus Christi, Texas. They got something good. They always got something going on at Corpus Christi. That's Death Valley. That's the heart of Death Valley. 133. Let me go over to 133. So remember, the reason why I have 133 is because the Federal Register for tomorrow has 133 activities that need to be addressed and looked at very carefully. As you'll be aware of the covenant and binding and decisions that Balak, Biden, them are using in your covenant with him. When you make a tie that binds. So 133 in mathematics, it's a happy number. Octagon, oh, there's the octa. Like the month of October is the 10th month, but we know that oct is 8. So it's a happy number, the 8, the 133. It is a harshard number. What do they mean by harshard number? It's an invisible number. It's an invisible number. It's a enter the jur. Enter the jur. Rep digit. It's a rep. Sounds like reciprocals and reps. Rep like you gonna do some push-ups. 133. It's a Gaussian prime. Look at this stuff that I don't know. It's all about math. I see ZZ in the math. It's a ZZ. It's a broom. Oh, a bloom. It's a bloom. In Roman numeral, it's CXXX. In binary, it's 100001012. Look at these numbers. Math, it's a hexadecimal. It's a duodecimal. We bipolar, we know. We binary, yeah, we ternary, we centenary, octals, and duodecimals. Remember learning the Dewey Decimal. Okay, what about the military? The military, Douglas C-133. I don't know what that's about. HMAS Batano, L-33, another L in 1972. Heavy landing craft. What is this talking about? Oh, it's a boat. Is it a boat, really? USNS Mission Santa Cruz. It's the tail 133. Look at all these ships. The Hawk class minesweeper. The Edsalai destroyer escort. The Crater, the cargo ship. Baltimore class heavy cruiser. Let me see how many of these there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, let me start over. You got the cargo aircraft. You have the landing craft. You have the fleet oilers. You have the attack transport. You have high-speed transport. You have the Squire class transport. You have, these are the Wickers, the class destroyers. You have the minesweepers. You have the destroyer escort. You have the submarines. Everybody want to be a submarine, ain't it? You got the cargo ship Crater class. You got the heavy cruiser, the Baltimore class. They run with the Koreans. You have the Rains. They are prisoners of wars. They camp out. You have the second Italo and the Italian Regia Aeronautic. And the Abyssinian warheads. And then you have the women at the top. They're the Seabees. They are the 133rd class. The Seabees, and it's SEABEE. That was tight work, wasn't it? That wasn't me. That was Wikipedia. Wikipedia did that. Google made Wikipedia give that to me like that. Now, let's continue. This is everybody that I've met along the way. That's what I'm doing. Wikipedia giving me to me to give it to you though. So then as you leave the Seabees and continue traveling, it'll take you to London routes. Huh? But you gotta get a Bucharest to Rome, huh? You got to, cause there's some rat bees, huh? In the house. Huh? Then you have those that sit with flatbacks. Huh? They are like Indians. Huh? And they travel between Spain, huh, to get to the small seats of the 133. But they turned around and they had a new generation that wanted to get some space shuttles. Uh, and now they are at the end of the road where you have a biplane trainer with a single seat and a single engine. And it's a Junkanoo Meister. Wikipedia gave it to me in this order, y'all. Oh my goodness, this is me in flesh. Get out of flesh. Tell the people how their light is doing the same thing right here. Because you're thinking about God, God the one giving it to you. And you say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for giving me this information here. Huh? Thank you. Because I know it's not me. I don't have the sense to read this and see this the way it just came out my mouth. Huh? Buckaboo. That's gonna be a new title. Buckaboo. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Buckaboo. Every time you want to think about hugging God, just say Buckaboo. Buckaboo said hug God. God wants a hug from you today. God wants some of your love and light. Don't give it to Biden. Don't give it. Give it to the image of God in your mind. It's not Biden. Biden wants to be the minion for the God he's raising and purchasing your soul for. Him and Joe. Huh? They are. I'm telling you. Huh? Look, look, look. Thank you, God. Thank you. I'm not going to read no more of 133 because it looked like they start talking about lungs and comets and Islamic calendars and all these other things. Big Soul Productions. See, William Shakespeare. Big Soul Productions. Oh, goodness. I might want to continue. Just for informational, educational purposes. Nope. I'm getting off of here. I'm going to go rest my eyes and thank God and just be thankful. I'm just going to be thankful. All right. Greater light. Miss Yolanda, we had white fungus on our plants here. Let's see when those fires were going on. There's going to be an interesting sport that's going to start popping up. New York put up those warnings, them signs 2 years ago, warning a nuclear fallout. What? Isn't that interesting? They sold out stock from radiation medication these past 3 years. Thank you, huh? Past 3 years, it's been going on, huh? And everybody's still breathing fine. Artificial intelligence ain't scanning nobody, and nobody got cancer, huh? Oh man, it's just me. Oh goodness. Okay, y'all, it's just me. It's just me. Don't worry about it. God got you. He said you don't even have to worry about Biden. You don't even have to think about it. Abigail is just talking out of flesh, thinking she doing something, like she helping, doing something that I got control of, huh? Who does she think she is, huh? I am the Almighty, huh? She don't have no say so in nothing. And her reading Biden is not giving you right light, huh? She going on and on about the Federal Register is not talking about me, huh? I'm God, and you don't even have to read that, Abigail. Who do you think you are talking down to the people like that? God, the Almighty Creator, you have the last say so. And I'm wasting spit and energy, from your divine light, messing up my DNA form, focusing on that bull crap that they got going on and been going on from the beginning of time. Huh? My God, huh? Thank you. Thank you for every lesson. You know what? Right now, I feel like listening to some Torah. Somebody with some Torah right now, just to ease my mind. Let me go over. Let me hit some Torah lessons or something. I found one today that was soothing to my soul listening. You might not like the topic, but it came through my algorithm. I ain't never seen this man face. When it came through my algorithm, it was playing on its own. The phone picked it up and played it on its own. And I decided to click subscribe because I didn't touch my phone. And it started playing, and then look, it'll probably be forever for me to find the video that I was just listening to a few hours ago. Oh, dang. Here it is. Get ready. And let me just relax and listen.
To end it all. And I mean end it all on a physical level. I am shattered into thousands of pieces and I simply could not live any longer. I want to tell you what happened with these recent classes. They gave me a burst of energy. I feel alive. I feel there's purpose to it all. I feel there's meaning. I feel there's depth. This gave me back my power. You said yesterday that you're the Meshuggah who speaks about everything people don't like to be spoken about. So I'm going to ask you, please be that Meshuggah person. Please be that real rabbi and talk about the difficult, uncomfortable, unappealing topics.
TheYeshiva.net.
Okay, today's class is dedicated by the Pshaya and Sterke Beumelgreen. A woman wrote, these classes on this Maimer gave me tremendous clarity and inspiration. I am binge listening. Please keep it going. I was in a very, very difficult place. Raped by a father hundreds and hundreds of times is something I assume most people will not even understand or even believe. So I decided to end it all. And I mean end it all on a physical level. I am shattered into thousands of pieces and I simply could not live any longer. I want to tell you what happened with these recent classes. They gave me a burst of energy. I feel alive. I feel there's purpose to it all. I feel there's meaning. I feel there's depth. This gave me back my power. You said yesterday that you're the Meshuggah who speaks about everything people don't like to be spoken about. So I'm going to ask you, please be that Meshuggah person. Please be that real rabbi and talk about the difficult, uncomfortable, unappealing topics.
TheYeshiva.net.
Okay, today's class is dedicated by the Pshaya and Sterke Beumelgreen. Thank you very, very much. Very, very appreciative for all. bracha v'atzlacha ad bli dai, with much happiness, abundance, nachas, and all goodness, with good spirits. I got a few emails. I got quite a few emails about what we're learning. But I wanted to read to you a few messages I received, in continuation to yesterday's class, because I think it's just, I think it could teach us all a lot. It taught me a lot. Okay, so this is an email from a person. This is what he wrote. It was a long letter. I'm just reading a few lines. I must tell you that I'm listening to the Shiurim on Derech Mitzvah, the Maimer about the Kohen who was blemished not serving in the Beis HaMikdash. The teachings were truly life-changing in so many ways. I have been in a rut for years because a certain experience, certain issue that I feel plagued with. And this message here of this Maimer instilled a new hope in my heart. It was so eye-opening for me, especially the idea that there's no such a thing that you're struggling and a person is just a nebach, a victim, lost and defiled and contaminated. They were sent on a mission to destroy the side of impurity and reveal the infinity and the Ein Sof within that space. I know my struggle won't go away in a second, but it did give me hope regarding my specific struggle. I feel ready to start living again. I need to know the practical steps to take, but you should know that these classes saved my soul, mamash. A woman wrote, these classes on this Maimer gave me tremendous clarity and inspiration. You hit on the nail. Number one, my soul choosing this journey and experiencing the darkness in such a powerful way that a regular brain can't grasp. My ability to kill and disentangle myself from these clippers. It does take an enormous amount of energy, and I'm doing it. The fact that it only touches the outer layer of the soul and doesn't define my being is life-changing. These are stunning words of healing. I listened over and over again to the class. I can't get enough of it because it's a tremendous source of strength. But let me clarify. Are you saying, or is this Maimer saying, that my soul chose to be exposed to this horrific darkness, being raped by my father hundreds of times? And are you telling me that by doing this hard work of healing, I'm actually rectifying the darkness in the entire world? There's an expression in English called binging, people who are addicted to food. Well, let me tell you about these classes. I am binge listening. Please keep it going. This is saving lives. I can speak only for myself, but I was in a very, very difficult place. Raped by a father hundreds and hundreds of times is something I assume most people will not even understand or even believe. I couldn't fight this tumor anymore. I felt depleted. I couldn't take it any longer. The pain is unbearable. I was in a place and I decided to end it all. And I mean end it all on a physical level. To the outside world, I'm a super functional mother, wife, and teacher. Nobody would imagine the brokenness that lives inside my heart. I am shattered into thousands of pieces and I simply could not live any longer. I want to tell you what happened with these recent classes. They gave me a burst of energy. I feel alive. I feel there's purpose to it all. I feel there's meaning. I feel there's depth. This gave me back my power. You said yesterday that you're the Meshuggah who speaks about everything people don't like to be spoken about. So I'm going to ask you, please be that Meshuggah person. Please be that real rabbi and talk about the difficult, uncomfortable, unappealing topics. This was her email. And then somebody else wrote me just last night, late. I saw it like close to the middle of the night. I'm listening online. This maima is fire. I wanted to let you know that I'm present. My emotions are going wild. You took me back in time to start understanding that all my experiences, the good and the bad and the ugly, is something that has taken me to the present. And because of this, I can start to understand and face everything head on most of the time. Even my mistakes are actually going to bring me into a deeper spiritual place of transcendence, into a deeper Gan Eden, lower and higher. This is so healing and so transformative. I'm reading this to you because I think it describes to us a little bit of what quite a significant amount of people go through. And that's why I said yesterday that when you see all of this, you realize, how important it is to be able to give ourselves and people a voice, to be able to address the authentic situation of what's happening in people's hearts and souls, and not just sweet coat it and cause people who are suffering so much to repress it. And that's really the whole theme of what we're learning here. So now we come back to the beginning of the whole discussion. If you remember, it all started off with a statement from Rashbi, Reb Shimon ben Yochai, in the Zohar, Parshas Vayeshev. That's where he quotes the psukim, the verses of Parshas Emer, that a kohen who suffers from certain disabilities and certain physical blemishes, a balmum, can't go into the sanctuary, to the heichal, and can't do the avodah by the mizbeach, can't do the avodah, even though he can eat from all the karbonas, even those karbonas that are called kodesh kadashim, which bring atonement. He could eat like any other kohen. The Tzemach Tzedek has, there's a contradiction here, because if for some reason he can't atone, he can't do the service to atone, but he could eat, which is part of the atonement. Koyanim oichlim ubaylim mischaprim. The koyanim eat and the owners receive atonement. And how do you even understand this whole idea? If he physically can't do the avodah, he can't stand, okay. But if he physically could, are we discriminating against handicapped people? We're discriminating against people with disabilities. It's the kohen's fault. What if he was born with it? Or there was an accident? Or there's an illness, there's a disease? It's so difficult. So for this, he quoted a Zohar in Parshas Vayeshev. And now he's going to come after this whole long explanation about the moon and the blemish of the moon and Malchus and Klippa. So now he goes back to the Zohar. I just want to remind you the words of the Zohar, because the words of the Zohar are very Kabbalistic and mystical and cryptic. Zohar is the foundational book of Kabbalah, so it's written in a very mystical way, filled with riddles and enigmatic statements that need to be deciphered and demythologized and brought down. So I just want to remind you the words which we learned in the beginning, and then we'll see here how he comes to explain it in the derech of Chabad Chassidus, to explain it with Chachma, Bina, Das, so that it could be comprehended and internalized at least to some degree. So Reb Shimon said, I'm not going to read everything in Aramaic, we'll go to it, I'm just reminding you. Reb Shimon spoke about the fact that this certain Kayanim cannot serve in the Beis HaMikdash by the altar, or can't go into the Heichel, into the inner sanctuary. And he said, Tachazi, come and see. And I'm quoting it with translation to English, just what it says in Zohar, without any explanation, but now we'll be able to go back to what it means. When the river, that river, began to flow, it brought out with it all of the souls. And the souls became impregnated into femininity, into nukva, into the woman. And all the souls existed inside the sacred source, Lagav, inside Hashem's sacred source. They existed, what he calls Bekurta de Lagav, inside, Gav is inside, Kurta's treasure, inside the divine treasure, within the Paraichas, behind the curtain in the Holy of Holies. And all these souls were Besiter Kurta, which means in a designated place within the divine treasure, not scattered. And therefore no access to any no impurity had access to it. However, when the moon became blemished as a result of the influence of the toxicity of the snake, so all the souls that come out at that moment when the moon is blemished, they are pure and they are holy. But since they came out during the time of the blemish, so wherever these souls end up, they experience brokenness, they experience pain, they experience anguish. And yet these are the people that God has a special relationship to because they were broken through the blemish of the Shekhinah itself. They were broken like the Shekhinah. They were broken like the moon. They are therefore a reflection of the divine. Kegavna de la'ela. They are a reflection of the divine. And you have to remember that only the body could be blemished. Their inner soul, the neshmas lagav, remains exactly like the divine. It reflects each other. And thus they are the ones who will mostly dance and celebrate the joy of the moon. This is the statement of Reb Shimon ben Yochai that was quoted in the beginning of this Maimer. And therefore he says, don't think that this pain has to do with sins, that the person caused this pain, that these are lav minedahu barnash. This doesn't come from the person's doing. You say all pain, it's because you sinned, or your father sinned, your mother sinned, your baba sinned. No. He says this is actually called Yisurim Shal Ahava, which means it's a mission that this soul undertook because of its love. It's a whole different way of understanding much of the pain that people go through, that souls go through. This is, he's talking about both. He's speaking about physical. He's also speaking about physical blemishes. And then he speaks also about spiritual pain. For example, he speaks about Reb Shimon ben Yochai, who's speaking about this, and his friends, who were in exile and would go from place to place, and they did not have an easy life. He says they're part of this. So it's all different types of journeys. It could be physical, it could be emotional, mental, spiritual. In Gemara and Brachas, there's an argument if yesh yisurim b'loy oven or ein yisurim b'loy oven. Right? Is there pain that's always connected to sin or not? It's a big argument there. And in many, many Mefarshim, it says, no, not necessarily. Here, Reb Shimon ben Yochai says clearly there's different types. Not always because the person needs cleansing and forgiveness and they did something wrong. Okay, this is the quote from the Zohar. Now, obviously, it's very mystical words, spiritual words. So on this, the Maimer started to explain the whole idea that the moon represents the element of the Shekhinah, which is called Malchus. And Malchus was diminished. And it goes on a journey into Bri, Yitzir, Asiya, in order to accomplish, to vivify all the worlds. And there it does Birur Rishon and Birur Sheni. He spoke about the higher Birur of Chachma and the lower Birur of Malchus. And the lower Birur has to do with the Nitzutzes, elevating all the sparks. This was the whole Arichas. And then he discussed the war that's involved, the tremendous war, and how Klippa needs to feed off Kedusha. And the war could be extremely, extremely bloody and difficult from a spiritual perspective. Why? Because this is its only form of oxygen. Unholiness lives only from holiness, and therefore will do anything to remain entangled with goodness, with holiness, because without that, I'm laughing. It's just it shows how tragic it is, because the Klippa needs me, and I think I'm the Klippa. You understand? That's how it gets me. The best way to keep somebody in your clutches is when that person thinks he's you. You know, like codependence. If I feel I can't live without you, right? So I need you so much, so I keep you. And the paradox is not only don't I need you, you can't live without me. But that's what happens. This impurity takes over. And it makes the person think that not only they need it, this is who they are, you know? So this is wonderful. So the disentanglement is a very, very, it's a painful process. And he says the Klippa will fight till its last breath, literally, because this is going to be its last breath. It knows that this is going to be its last breath, and it's not going to let it happen. And that's where you have to be careful. You have to be careful, because at such a moment, you know, you're winning the war, and when you win the war, you could lose the war. You know, if you close your eyes, you know, you're having an arm wrestle with somebody, and you're almost done. But that's the moment, You know, when the other person is almost down, what do? They muster all their last strength, right? They muster all their last strength. That's when they do it, because they're losing. It says in one of the Maimarim why in the middle of Shemona Esrei sometimes you have the worst machshavas zaras. Other times you're fine. After middle of Shemona Esrei, and you thought it was a good day. You were having kavanah, you were having machshava, you were trying to tune, and suddenly, boom! It's like, oh my God, what I'm thinking about. You don't even realize, right? So it could be very discouraging. So it says in Tanya in chapter 28, koyach, koyach, the other way around. It actually could mean that it was a good davening. It means it was a good davening. He says, you see, when two people are, this is what he says, when two people are wrestling, and you almost defeated the other, that's when they try to make a comeback because they're being defeated. They're not being defeated, they could relax. They don't have to fight so hard. But when you see that you're losing, that's when you put up a fight. So sometimes the depth of the resistance is a sign of success. You're doing well. That's what he says, how Klippa works. And then from this, he went on to the idea how in a war we often give up. We surrender some territory. We surrender some troops. There's casualties only to bring the enemy out of its rabbit holes, of its trenches, of its caves, of its hiding places, so that you can completely destroy it. And this was all a metaphor for the journey of many a soul. And he gave the example of Yehuda and Tamar, and he gave the example of Eliyahu Hanavi sacrificing in Hara Carmel, the Karbonis, and he gave the example of Shabbos or Yom Kippur being overridden for particular reasons. These were all examples for this in Torah and history and halacha, etc., but similar themes. So what was the ultimate summation? Now he's going to go back to the Zohar and conclude the whole process. So what was the ultimate summation? That when people experience journeys in life that are painful, there's always three main points to remember. Easier said than done in terms of internalization. The first thing the person has to remember is that the soul remains divine, always. So ultimately, who went through this experience? Who's going through this experience? Hashem himself. It's the Ein Sof. The soul is a chelek elikam mimal. So it's infinite consciousness going through a finite experience and sometimes a very dark journey. Gam ki yelech begeit salmavis lo yirara ki ate imadi. That's number one. In Kabbalistic Hasidic language, it's called Malchus. This is the quality of Malchus, the Shechina, Golus HaShechina, the exile of the Shechina. The same Rashbi in Gemara, this is in Zohar, Vayeshev. In Gemara and Megillah, Rashbi says, Kol Chavivin Yisrael, Kol Makom Shegolu Yisrael, Shechina Iman. Wherever Yisrael went, the Shechina is with them, the end of Maseches Megillah. And he goes through the examples of the exiles that the Jews went through. Whether it's Babylonia, whether it's Persia, Greece, etc. Edom, Rome. He knew about Rome. He suffered. He was in a cave for 13 years because of Rome. Shechina Iman. So it's not just a concept of some spiritual, mystical idea somewhere the Shechina is there. It means that the soul is a piece of the Shechina. So of course the Shechina is there. That's number one. Number two, because of that, I don't have to be afraid of facing anything. I can go in to wherever I was sent. I don't have to disconnect. I don't have to run away. I don't have to close my eyes. I don't have to repress. If I know at the core it's infinity and the darkness is not more powerful than me, I can go there. If I am the darkness is more powerful than me, certain places I'm not going. Of course you disassociate. Of course you disconnect. Once you know that the infinite light is present here, and you're experiencing this, and you experienced it as Ein Sof, you can go everywhere. You could show up. And that means feeling the pain. It means going into that place. As he puts it, you have to enclose yourself in the Levush HaMizbarer. I'm in a war. I can't fight the war with drones. It would be nice, but I can't. Certain battles, you could throw a missile, you could throw a grenade, and that's it. But as Israel knows very well, certain wars, you got to go from alley to alley, from house to house, blow up one cave and another cave. It's not easy. Emotionally too. I can't just stay above and say, hey, you rat, get out of here. I have to go in so he could come out, and then I can destroy. And number 3, even the part of me that goes in and gets affected, it's not that I'm really damaged. It's all to destroy it. That's the third point. It's all ultimately to destroy it. As I said, the words are easier to say than the experience of it, because the experience of it is the experience of it. You could talk about war. You could write a book, The Art of War. You could be a military strategist in your house. But in reality, many situations in history, soldiers went to war with excitement. When the British and the Germans went to the First World War, they went with so much passion. They thought it's going to be a few weeks. They'll show off their skills, and boom. When the bodies start coming back and the people start becoming wounded, everything changes, It's ugly, it's disgusting, it's horrific, it's dark, it's painful. I'm saying we have to be sensitive when we talk about all these things emotionally. Like what this woman writes about what she experienced in her family. It's not anymore just a mimer that we're learning, in the morning. It's unimaginable. And I want to empathize with it. It's so important. And I'm saying this because I know she's listening now, but I'm saying it to everybody. That, you see, all when people cause pain to other people, especially to children, it's always horrific. But there was a Jewish poet. He wrote about the pogroms of Kishinev. About the pogroms of Kishinev in 1880, 1881. It was horrible. So he wrote, what did he say? The revenge for the blood of a child, even Satan did not create yet. How do you avenge for the blood of a child? When you see children dead, murdered, slain, he says, even Satan didn't create yet that type of revenge. So when you see children who are vulnerable being destroyed like that, it's a unique pain. But this is much more. The pogroms happened through murderous anti-Semitic peasants who came to kill the Jewish children. In her case, it was her father. So just think about that. My father comes into my bedroom or wherever it is. Who am I seeing? I'm seeing somebody that I'm told to love. And I want to love. A child by nature wants to love mommy and tati. This is our source of attachment in life. So think what that does to a brain. So here's a person whom I love, I respect. I'm going to a school where they teach me that one of the 10 commandments is to respect your father and mother. And we all know that mitzvah is a very important mitzvah for civilization, because cultures where there was no respect for fathers and mothers did not turn out well. And we learned the story of Dama ben Esina, who didn't wake up his father, right? And he was ready to lose all the money in Kiddushin. And therefore he was rewarded with a para aduma. And probably she also learned that in school, because it's a very basic Jewish teaching in any Jewish school. So your mind and your soul and your heart is telling you, here's a person I should respect and here's a person I should love. And in reality, what's happening? You're dealing with a person who's a murderer. It's a murder, literally a murder. It's the Gemara, the Apostle says, "Kashayakum ish areyur itzachai nefesh kein adavar hazeh." It's a form of murder, emotional murder, sometimes physical murder too. You see, decades later, a person still doesn't know if they want to live. Decades later. So just think what it does to the brain. The enemy is not clear. At least I'm not minimizing other situations, but there's no identifiable enemy. So what do? So maybe it didn't happen. Or maybe there was good intentions. Or maybe this is what love looks like. Or maybe I deserve it. So besides the physical insanity and the emotional insanity, the insanity of not knowing who's right and who's wrong and who do I believe, do you know what that does to a brain, my friends? But if people don't understand this, they don't understand this. You lose your trust in who? In yourself. You can't trust any instinct. You can't trust any emotion. You can't trust anything. Because on one hand, you're standing in front of a person who's a hero. On the other hand, you know deep down that he's a monster. So what do you say? So he's not a monster. So everything I'm feeling is a joke. It's fake. Now this person grows up. They don't trust a single emotion of theirs. Nothing. They don't trust themselves. That's even if they feel. They usually can't even feel anymore. How could you start feel? Too much to feel. You go out of your emotions. That's what I talk about, artificial intelligence. I have nothing against artificial intelligence. I love artificial intelligence as long as you don't turn people into artificial intelligence. Computers should be artificial intelligence. It's wonderful. GBT chat is wonderful. But when I'm becoming artificial intelligence because my heart was literally cut out of my system, that's a tragedy all its own. How did I get into this story? You have to remind me. I forgot my train of thought here. Anybody here is using their left brain? So therefore, no, what I was saying, so all the explanations pale in regard to the experience of it. You know, you could talk and prepare, but the experience of it is a whole different world. And that's why we need so much empathy for ourselves and for others. You have to be able to cut yourself slack. I know it's not a Jewish thing, but it's a very Jewish thing. You have to be able to cut yourself slack. This is what the whole Zohar is trying to teach. Rashbi says, you got to cut yourself slack. You have to understand that you're dealing with a big thing. You're dealing with a colossal thing. And ignoring the pain and making believe it's not painful, you're not helping anybody. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the world. So these are the three fundamental issues. Number one, if I can go back as an adult and say, wow, this was God who went through this experience. It didn't feel that way when I was 4, but that's the truth. It was my divinity that went through this experience, which means that at the core, I was never, ever, ever damaged, even though it doesn't feel that way. The moon that I see is damaged. In fact, the moon that I see is gone. It's invisible. It's not just damaged. It left. That's the moon I see. But there's the moon I don't see. The relationship of the moon to the sun was not damaged. What happened as a result of the diminishment of the moon is our vantage point of the moon changes in different positions. The Alter Rebbe has a maimer that the cycle of a woman reflects the moon. A woman is Malchus. Malchus is the Shechina, so her cycle reflects it. So there's part of a cycle. There's a time where you're in a diminished state, and it's normal. That's a very good question. What happens if somebody is struggling and they can't identify an event to trace it back to? You know that sometimes the most difficult experiences in life, people reduce to their subconscious memories, and they don't have a memory of it. I'm just saying, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that's a serious possibility in life. People who simply, because of the intensity of it, and the brain couldn't believe it, so the brain erases it. But all the symptoms are there. All the symptoms are there. I know of a fellow, he lives not far from here, and Kavayachal, he had a perfect life, but he had every symptom of trauma. But there was nothing. Good house and a good family, and had always what he needed, and successful. Begashmias, beruchmias, but every symptom of trauma. Couldn't connect with his spouse, couldn't connect with his children, couldn't connect with himself. Tremendous anxiety. Not long ago, he discovered such horrible things. I'm not even going to say what he discovered. I don't have the kayak to say it. I'm going to get exhausted. Such horrible things. They were so horrible that his brain erased it all. Of course, he knew it all, but he knew it on a subconscious level. The soul knows everything. Nobody could shut off the neshama. Just like it says, Ayin Raya Vezin Shemas, Hashem sees and hears, your soul sees and hears everything. Right? It's the biggest mistake of all tyrants and dictators, all the Hitlers and all the Stalins and all the Paris, they think you can kill God. What does it mean, kill God? It's what people still think today. Today, they don't say kill God, they say kill the soul. You can't kill a soul. There's nothing you can do. Truth is more powerful than falsehood. And the soul has an eye, and the eye sees. What do they call the third eye? The third eye, right? It's a different eye. Hayotzer ayin halayabit. What it says in today's Shir Shel Yom. Vayomru lo yira ka lo yovena lekei Yaakov. They say Hashem doesn't see. Binu boirim ba'am uchsilim mosai taskilu. Hanoita oizen alo yishma. Hayotzer ayin halayabit. He built the eye. You think he can't see? He built your ear. You think he can't hear? He doesn't need an ear and an eye to see and hear. You think just because you're an abuser, he won't see and hear? The soul is the same, because the soul's a chelik elokam. My point is that that's possible. But remember, when we speak about brokenness, it's not necessary. Our dear friend Ibn Nechemia wrote me this morning, because this is a response to what you're saying. He wrote to me that he's not coming. Amazing and empowering stuff. Don't undersell the relevance to every neshama, even if its journey isn't from the worst traumas. You know, we go to one conversation because it's so horrific, but it's very true. Emotional neglect is not an identifiable trauma. The kid had food, he had clothes, he wasn't in a bomb shelter his whole life. Nobody did anything crazy. And therefore, when he's suffering, he says, well, I'm the crazy one. But it's neglect. It was neglect. A kid who was not seen, who was not soothed, who did not feel safe, who did not feel secure. These are real needs. And if I never had them, it has consequences. Think about a plant that doesn't get the sunlight it needs, doesn't get the water it needs, doesn't have the soil it needs. What happens? It dries up and dies. So you look at the plant and you say, whoa, what's this chutzpah? What's this defiance? Why are you having oppositional defiance disorder? Why can't you produce beautiful leaves and a nice plant and good vegetables and fruits? And the answer is, the plant doesn't have oppositional defiance disorder. The plant just did not get its needs. A plant needs sunlight. Without sunlight, it cannot function. So everybody understands that when a plant dries up, it's not chutzpah. It's not a positional defiance disorder. It just didn't get its needs. We think children are not plants. Plants, we don't suspect in having chutzpah, but children, yeah, they're horrible. Maybe a child also needs a little sunlight and he didn't get it. Maybe the child also needs a little water and he didn't get it. Maybe the child also needs some soil and some air and a comfortable place and safety and security and attachment and connection and the ability to be authentic and creative and to experience its emotions. I'm just giving a few examples of what we need. So it's not a blame game, but it's identifying a fact that this is the way God designed it. Imagine somebody says, my child doesn't have to eat. I don't have to eat. I don't have to drink. I don't have to sleep. The Gemara says if somebody makes a shvuah that he's not going to sleep for a few, he's not going to sleep more than 3 days in this. So he says, you give him malchus and put him to sleep. It's not possible. It's not possible. Children, there's a design of a body and of a soul. A child without attachment is missing something. It's missing something. You can't say it's not missing. And it's going to show up in the plant. So we have to be able to understand this is also a form of brokenness. And it's not about blaming and now I'm a victim. Somebody wrote a scathing email. Rabbi Jacobson, till you came around, everybody knew there's a Yetzer Hara. And now you decided it's all trauma. Huh? For thousands of years, Jews knew there was a Yetzer Hara. And now, no, you're Yetzer Hara, you're perfect, you're good, you're holy, it's all trauma. So of course, what did I write back to him? I'm so sorry for your trauma. Just joking. Just joking, just joking. I didn't do that. I wanted to, but I didn't do that. Huh? But the truth is, it's a good question. But what's a missing piece here? Okay. The words trauma or brokenness are not here to give people a shortcut and say I don't have to deal with my Yetzer Hara. It's in order to help me deal with my Yetzer Hara. For example, if somebody has a Yetzer Hara of addiction, particular person, is married, and he's constantly betraying his wife. He's cheating on his wife. And he's a younger man. He learns Daf Yomi every day. And he learns Mesilas Yesharim. And he davens Vasikim. And he doesn't miss Mincha Ma'ariv with a minyan. And he has Shiurim. And he's a good person. He's a good person. And this is something. And he went to therapists, and he went to doctors, and he took medication, and he went to 12 steps, and he went to here, and he went to there. He wants to, and then something happens. It's like a dibble goes in, and he doesn't. He gets into the car, and the Nachash HaKadmoni, the snake, takes over, and he regrets it. But the next week or the next day again, something happens, and he feels this uncontrollable urge. And he went to many people, and everybody said the same thing. It's a Yetzer Hara. And what do you do with the Yetzer Hara? You fight the Yetzer Hara. And that's what he's trying to do. What if he discovers, and he did discover, that somebody in his family, as a child, did horrible, horrible things to him? He was molested, and molested by more than one member in his family. He didn't know because he was a little kid, and he erased it from his memory. And suddenly he discovered that his soul was cut off at a very young age. His emotions were cut off. His safety was cut off. His attachment was cut off. Something very deep was played with him. And you know what he suddenly realizes? So the self that I know today is actually not the self that was born. The self that I know today is a post-trauma self. So suddenly he can understand where the Yetzer Hara came from. Suddenly he realizes this Yetzer Hara is not his essence. This Yetzer Hara is a survival mechanism to be able to deal with crazy, insane pain. And suddenly he realizes that there's a pre-trauma self that actually doesn't have to do this because it doesn't need it. And he could learn about that pre-trauma self. And for the first time in his life, he look in there and say, oh, so this is not me. There was a clip it put into me. There was a trauma that broke me. And now my whole life is affected by it. And I thought it was me. Suddenly it's not me. I have to deal with it. But what am I dealing with? I'm dealing with alien contamination, a perpetrator that literally stuck poison into me. Bon Nachash al Chava. The Nachash had intimacy with Chava, and from that, Chava thinks she needs the snake for love. Why is he going away from his wife? He's looking for love somewhere. Somehow that's where he gets love. Fake, counterfeit love instead of a relationship in his house. Where did that come from? So for the first time in his life, he has hope to fight his Yetzer Hara. He understands where his Yetzer Hara comes from. His Yetzer Hara is not just some magician who flew down from heaven and is destroying him, and suddenly he has control, he has agency. So what does a Yetzer Hara mean? What does Yetzer Hara mean? What a Yetzer Hara is. You get my point? This doesn't make shortcuts for people. This gives hope to people. This allows people to have bchira. Wow, there's another me. It's amazing. He's a new person today. Imagine if he would have gotten that email from that guy. Oh, trauma. It's a Yetzer Hara, you idiot. 55 years he couldn't deal with it. When we're superficial, when you don't understand what's happening with people, You understand? Everything gets so misconstrued because people have to feel what's happening. They have to feel what's happening themselves. They have to understand, what does it mean, a Yetzer Hara? The worst thing to say about a Yetzer Hara is that that's essentially who you are. Suddenly now, you know what happened with his Yetzer Hara? His Yetzer Hara is almost gone. You know why? Because he realized that Yetzer Hara came in from somebody else. It has nothing to do with him. And he's disentangling himself like this. Boom. His marriage was saved. His life was saved. His kids was saved. His future was saved.
Buddha and Tamar also, because we were talking about Buddha was traumatized. And when he went to the zona, that was part of his escape.
Okay. I mean, he doesn't put it that way, but if you want to put it in psychological terms, at least the way it relates to us, you could do that. It's hard for me to talk about Yehuda and Tamar because you're talking about people with very, very lofty souls, but I'll apply the story to ourselves. It's a little easier because every story exists on so many different levels, you know? Yehuda sold Yosef into slavery. He saw what it did to his father. He wasn't a careless person. How do we know he wasn't a careless person? Because we could see later what he does for Binyamin, how he sacrifices himself. He had leadership in him. There was a deep soul there. And Yehuda is the seed of David HaMelech and Shloimeh and Mashiach. You're talking about Melech Shebeshvatim. And Bechlal, Yaakov's children were, they had the genes of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, or Leah. You know, you're talking about holy genes, as they say. Ha'avas Heini Namerkava, Shifte Yutke. But it says, Vayerid Yehuda me'es achav. Yehuda left, he descended. And Chazal say they dethroned him, they got rid of him. They demoted him. They said, it's all your fault. You destroyed the family single-handedly because you were a leader. You could have said, let's bring Yosef back. So imagine what Yehuda went through. He went through a lot. Huh? And what did he do? He went to a friend, Chira, and he found a woman at Bas Shua, Knani, and he married her. You know, there's a word from the Kotzker Rebbe and Siach Sarfei Kodesh. You know, he said, what? It's a real Kotzker Rebbe word. He said, Yehuda lost everything at that moment. He realized his whole life was a mistake. He was a zealot, and he was a kanoi, and you have to sell Yosef, right? He had it all figured out. And suddenly he saw that he destroyed everything. Yaakov was in mourning, the Shechina was gone, the family was gone. What do? So the Kotzker Rebbe says he realized he has to start over from scratch. What's the first mitzvah in the Torah? Pru'urvu. So he said, I'm starting all over again, like a convert. I'm starting all over again, all from scratch. Go back to Bereshis. I don't know anything. Pru'urvu is the first mitzvah. So he decided, but you understand the word. It's a powerful word. That's what made him a special person. The ability to say, control, alt, delete. I know nothing about Judaism. I know nothing about life. I know nothing about relationships. Okay? I'm Rabbi Akiva, 40 years old. Teach me olive base. I know nothing. That's when you learn something. Clean slate. Huh? No, I'm saying he got married. So he's suggesting he got married first, and then he lost a son, and he lost another son. What do you think that all did to him? He lost 2 boys, right? It all brought him back to what happened with Yosef. And in 22 years, he was a transformed man. So the story with Tamar is obviously part of this whole process. Now, if you want to apply it to our lives, when people go through such experiences, they often run to znus. This is how I'm applying it to our lives. They run to znus to deal with it. Because remember, znus, pornography, all these things are very powerful escapes that avoid confronting pain. And you blame it on the Yetzer Hara. And it is a Yetzer Hara. But this Yetzer Hara has context. This Yetzer Hara wasn't born in a vacuum. This Yetzer Hara was given to you. And therefore, you can give it back. Hashem nosan, Hashem lokach. He gave it to me. Take it back. Take it back. Here. Take your trauma back. Ata mevin. There's a word from the Ishbitzer. Amaretsha and the Mehashiloyach, the Helike Ishbitzer writes. It says right after the story with Lot and his daughters. So it says, Vayisa Avram HaNegba, Avram went south, Dorim. In Zohar it says that Dorim south is Midas HaChesed, that's why it's warm, it's Ava. So he says over there, when Avram saw where love can go between Lot and his daughters, he said, we have to start over again with love. You have to redo it. When he saw how corrupt it can become. Okay, so now let's go back here inside. He's now going to quote the Zohar again, but this time with the explanations. So, Bon Nachash, the line starts, Asher to Adam ba'Adam, who said Maiman Azal, Bon Nachash al Chava. The Nachash came to Chava, had intimacy with Chava. It's such a rich explanation in this Maimon Chazal. We all grew up with this idea, that the Nachash had relations with Chava. What in the world is that supposed to mean? Does it mean physical? But the truth is, the physical is not so important. It's the emotional. Because intimacy means you become part of it. Once something is intimate with something else, you can't just erase it. You can't erase it. That's why real people who really work on themselves, they are so careful what goes into their mouth. They are so careful what they see. When you grow up sometimes, you learn halacha, you learn musar. If you don't understand the soul of it, it just sounds like repressive. Don't go there, you can't do this, you can't see this, you can't, like Shmir Seinayim, all the organizations, Shmir Seinayim, watch your eyes. Do me a favor, stop telling me to watch my eyes, okay? My eyes are fine. When you see it from an external perspective, it seems very limiting. When you see it from a much deeper perspective, it's not about what you can't do. It's about protecting your integrity. It's about protecting your energy. Your energy is people's energies are serious. Your soul is a very serious thing. It needs to be protected. Right? The food we eat and the people we speak to and the types of conversations we have. Because everything goes in. Now, some things go in very deep. That's what intimacy is. Bon Nachash. Once the Nachash got into Chava, now for the rest of history, we don't know who's Chava and who's the snake. That's what we're busy with. The deepest form of impact is Bia, intimacy. That's why Bia Sasuris, relationships in halacha that are forbidden, intimate relationships, arayas, are so serious, right? There's death penalties. In the modern world, it's very hard to understand. An Eishes Ish, if she's married, she went to okay. It's not good for the marriage, I understand. But in Missa, right? Relationships with an animal, relationships with family members, incest, v'chuli, parashas achrei mos and gedoshim. You could look up the list. Rambam is Surei Bia. But death penalties. I understand if I killed somebody, fine. Somebody. But Gilui Arayas, okay, so you had a little fun with the wrong person. Right? But the Torah doesn't see it that way. Now, I know today all the Chiyuvi Misa don't apply because it's not so easy to get killed. You have to have Eidin, and you have to have Asra, and you have to do it within a few seconds from the warning, and then it has to be B'mezid, and you have to repeat back what you know, and if there's even a doubt, the person is not... Even when the Torah says Chiyuv Misa, it's not like everybody was being killed every Monday and Thursday. Huh? Not only that, the Mishnah says in Sanhedrin, right, there's a shitta that a Sanhedrin that kills once in 70 years, they're called terrorists. Chavlanin. Because they always had to find a loophole. It was not easy to get Chiyuv Misa in Torah. Even Malchus wasn't easy to get. If a person, they put him down to get lashes, right? And he starts going to the bathroom, it's over because he embarrassed himself. So, and if there's a doubt, if you knew exactly, and if they investigate, they make the Eidus Meshuggah, if they make a mistake. Right. One of the Tanoim writes over there in the Mishnah that if he would have been in the Sanhedrin, nobody would have ever been killed. I think Reb Shimon Gamliel told them, the place would have been filled with murderers. But the point is, it wasn't easy. But chiyuv misa means something else. Chiyuv misa means there's a death inside of me. There's a death inside of me. Because intimate relations for a soul, it's very, very serious. But for this, you have to take yourself seriously. We live in a culture, we don't take our soul seriously. We survive. You eat here, you go there. If you take your soul seriously, boundaries are not just luxury, they're crucial. And the more sensitive you are, the more sensitive you have to be to boundaries. The fact that I allow toxicity to come into my life is not because I'm a free spirit, because I don't know who I am. I don't respect myself, or I don't know what's going on. So Bon Nachash al Chava is a very, very profound experience. You have to understand what that means. Because till today, I'm still trying to figure out who's Chava and who's the snake, and I don't know. And that's what Eitz Hadas is. It's filled with good, and it's filled with bad, and it's one big sholent, and go figure out one from another. That's the taruvus. And the disentanglement of it in every person's life is a very critical moment of sobriety and of maturity and of spiritual growth. Does everybody understand, relate to what I'm talking about? Huh? Or this is too abstract? This is real stuff. This is not superstition. Energy is real. The soul is real. The wholeness is real, and impurity is also real. And it plays with brains. It plays with brains. It's poison that goes in. If you're a sensitive neshama and you're sitting at a Shabbos table and they're speaking Lashon Hara for 2 hours, right? You'll see. You'll go home. There's going to be a certain internal. I look like a certain part of the soul like feels dead. It's not a joke. It's not some halacha. You're not allowed to listen to Lashon Hara because we don't like juicy conversations. You think God cares if you have a juicy conversation? Well, so you had a juicy conversation, big deal. It was a nice Shabbos table. It was juicy. We decided to take this guy as the target and analyze him. And Baruch Hashem, Lashon Hara was flowing. We took out all the Google files on him. And Jews are even better than Google because we have it from before the Second World War still. Google only started a few years ago. We have files from before the Eitz Hadas, so we can really cut everybody down. But the truth is, where you're going, where your soul is going, you're getting entangled. You're higher than it. Food, fat doesn't. I was a young bacher once. It's a memory I still have. It was once a Farbrengen by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It was in the summer. So the shul was pretty empty because people go away to the country, so it was pretty empty. So small oilam. So the Rebbe was talking about Jews who feel that they have to read it used to be Jews felt they have to read the New York Times every day. Today, with their hatred to Israel, a lot of people sobered up from the addiction of reading the New York Times. The New York Times was like the paper of record. If you didn't read the New York Times, it was a question on your humanity. It's like not having sushi at a bar mitzvah or not a wedding. It's a shaila on the Kiddushin. So today it's sushi, but the New York Times was like... So the Rebbe was describing you have a yid with a payas and a board and a yamalka, and he's sitting in the morning faran davening, reading the New York Times. And he said his einikel, remember he said his einikel comes and he sees, so he turns it, he takes the New York Times, it's paper, so he turns it into a plane or a boat. You remember kids would make, before tablets and the phones, kids would actually play with other things. You remember? They would climb trees, they would bike, they would go outside, they would count the stars. So today there's already a game for it, so you don't have to do it. So he says the kid takes the newspaper and turns it into a boat, turns it into something else. And the grandfather gets upset because he wants to read the article. So he said in Yiddish, he said, the kind tut mit the New York Times was medafton mit the New York Times. And he said, as dein Zayde, your Zayde, he's talking to this person. It was enough of a so as dein, if your Zayde would come in and see what you're doing, that you're reading the New York Times in the morning before davening, Volte geschrien, and he gave a scream, the whole, Feh! Volte geschrien, Feh! That usually didn't scream like that. It was like, I still remember the fe. What's fe? What does fe mean? Fe is not an argument. I'm not arguing with you. It's fe. How does this come to you? How does this come to you? So every person needs to know this. What is the fe in my life? And it's not repressed. It's not because you're going to get punished. It's not about punishment. Schar Aveda Aveda. The worst thing about an Aveda is not the punishment, it's the Aveda. The worst thing about betraying your soul is not punishment, it's betrayal. Schar Mitzvah. The best thing about a mitzvah is not the reward, it's the mitzvah. And before the Baal Shem Tov, they said, you do a mitzvah, you get Gan Eden. The Baal Shem Tov said, you do a mitzvah, das is Gan Eden. After that, it's already, all extra extra credit. So the Bon Nachash Al Chava is a very fundamental thing. So now he continues. But when the Nachash goes in, it never touches the Yisoid. In Kabbalah, you have Yisoid and Malchus. Yisoid is the bris, and Malchus is femininity. Malchus is the moon, and Yisoid is the mashpia. The sun gives to the moon. Yisoid is ois bris kodesh. That's the part of the body through which we connect. It's the bris. All the souls come from Yisoid. But then Yisoid has to connect to Malchus. And then they become impregnated in Malchus. Malchus is the moon. When the moon gets diminished and blemished, so the souls that come out then from Malchus, those souls experience the brokenness of life. That's what Rashbi teaches. So the way the souls are in Yisoid, they're never affected. The Bon Nachash is only the way the soul is coming out, but the core of the soul is not affected. Ki kvoidi la'acher loy etinksiv. Pasuk in Yeshaya. Hashem says, my covet, my glory, I will never give away to anybody else. What does this mean? Moededik. And klippe cannot get kvoidi. Kvoidi la'acher loy etink. The Ein Sof says, I will allow myself to be manipulated, but only my external reality. Kvoidi, my ultimate covet, la'acher lo yete. Nobody is getting that throne. In other words, Klippe could come and come, the Nachash could go and go and go and go. But at some point, even Haman, he couldn't get the crown of the king. Kvoidi la'acher lo yete. There's a certain thing you say, at kan. Ki b'shem kotshech hanishbata lo yishalo yichbener lo ilam vod. Like we say in the Haftarah, the blessings. Al kisoi lo yeshiv zar. Atkan. On the throne, nobody else is going to sit. The rats will come around and they'll schlep, and they're parasites. They're narcissistic parasites. Because Klippe is always narcissistic. It has no patience to give. It has no energy to give. It just takes and takes and takes. Narcissism is a definition of Klippe. So it takes, but kvoidi la'acher lo yete. Atkan. You're not going to get the core. You're not going to get the pnimis. Klippe does nurture part of the name of Elikim, which is the name of tzimtzum, of concealment, which are included in the Yisoid, Midas HaYisoid. That's from the Arizal. Al Pasuk Achlo Mocha Sapia Mishle Perik Lamed. He describes a Zoina, and he says she eats and then wipes out her mouth. So the Arizal explains a whole in Al Piruchnis what that means, how she eats from Gedusha and then wipes off her mouth. Tov hu dalid v'nun mischabrim kechada ein sham. A tov is a dalid and a nun that come together. Shayinika, so he explains this whole in at length on this statement of the Zoyar. Shayinika hazoy sukadei lahavidam acher kach. But even this nurture that they get is only to destroy them. You give them the food just to be able to destroy them. So they're allowed to come in and feed off you, like again, the metaphor of the war. You give them a foot in, you let your pawn be killed, you give them a foot into your territory just to destroy them. That's the deeper meaning. Hashem pays to the enemies. He gives them payment, he gives them compensation in front of his face. Meaning, you're giving them. Why are you giving them? La'avidai. It's the only way you can really uproot them. If not, I couldn't uproot them. like we keep on talking about, the only one who can really smell the scent of the animal, the dog, the bloodhound dog that can smell the scent you want it has experience with that smell because that's how you trained it. So the neshama that has experience with this klippa can destroy it. But till the moment of destruction, they do nurture. And therefore they can blemish the flow of kedusha that comes from the name of Elikim. Hamakablim, who receive miyisoid, the nukva from the yisoid, the masculine, the bris, that connects to the nukva in that relationship. There could be some nurture, ukedain, and this is what the Zohar says, then kol inu nishmas and the nafkin, all the souls that come out at that moment, when the klippa is nurturing from that flow, shanashamas nimshachim gamken miyisoid the nukva shem sham beibur, the souls are pregnant in yisoid of nukva. Yisoid of nukva is the relationship between the masculine and feminine where there is conception, and that's when the souls are conceived. The kanal befinish bekur to the legav. Like we spoke earlier from the Zohar that all the neshamas begin as the divine inner treasure. In Yisoid, even though they're all pure and they're all holy. Because in the pnimius of the soul, no alien touch reached. Never think that the core of the soul was affected. So they remain pure, but hoyel v'nafku b'pgimu. The quote from the Zohar. Since they came out in the blemish pirush. Shenim shechu min ha-malchus b'shah she'ibgumo. They came out of Malchus when she was blemished, and that's the time that the chitzonim, the externals, are receiving their nurture. And this is very painful. He's acknowledging here the pain. It's very painful. It's painful because tumah is painful. It's not love. It's not pure. And for the soul, anything that's not pure is pain. It's destructive. As I gam heim bechol inu nasar demoti inu nishmasen kulu isbiru v'ispegimu bekama tzad bekama ke'evin machma shachit soinim yoin kemem. Wherever these souls end up, there is pain and anguish. Why? Because the externals have come in, they creeped in, and they're getting your energy, and the soul feels it. So I want you to understand, what is he saying? All the anxiety that we're having, crazy anxiety, what is it really? There's a clip of feeding off my consciousness, my brain. And part of me is there. Part of me is feeding it. Doesn't belong to me, but it's inside of me. It takes me away. The soul is pure. The soul is love. The soul is serenity. The soul is tranquility. Soul is aligned with the source. But the chitzonim come in and they're depleted, and the soul feels it. It's literally eating up my energy, and the disentanglement is not a simple process. That's the tsar. The process is sometimes in my brain of disentanglement. Let's see. And this is a very painful process. It's an emotionally and mental painful process. Think about mental illness, That's this process in the most dramatic, accentuated fashion. The moon is Malchus. We'll see in a moment. V'amar, and he says, B'chol inu nasar, wherever they are, it's loymar. The souls go through a whole journey. From Hashem's Malchus, they flow down until they come into a body. It starts with Malchus of Atzilus. That's like the pregnancy. And then the soul travels through. That's why it takes 9 months. 9 months for the soul to come down all the way until it can come into the body. So there's a whole journey of the soul through all the worlds and chambers of Bri Yitzir Asiyo. B'chol heichel shaboyim yeshlam kama tzarin v'kama kevin v'isbiru v'ispegimu misiba anal. And any chamber they go into, they experience this pain because the moon is being blemished. The Shechina is going through this process, and these souls represent the Shechina, and the Klippa is feeding off it. Remember, the Malchus goes in to the war zone, and Malchus often gives up territory and has casualties. There's a special love that Hashem has for them, a special rotzen. Machmas pnimiyis rotzen Hashem v'cheftze b'molchama zuim achitzoinim lohoitzi yoker mizoylim. Here he says it. These are the souls that are enduring this pain, fulfilling the ultimate desire and plan of creation, where Hashem wanted this war with the externals to take out Yakar, to take out all the preciousness from Zoilel, from the places that are the degenerate and filthy. And who are the souls that undertake this mission? These souls. Other souls never undertook this mission. So these are the souls that, so to speak, signed up and were chosen for a mission. What do they call it? Mission impossible. This is mission impossible. The only reasons these souls were chosen is because these souls were chosen because of their strength. So you look at yourself and you say, I'm so weak, I don't live. The Klippa doesn't want you to live. The Klippa wants you to be depleted. The Klippa wants you to say, I'm depressed. The Klippa wants you to say, I want to end my life. Of course, that's what it wants you. As long as you could say, I want to end my life, the Klippa continues to live. If you're in a lowly, bad, worthless state, so my Klippa will live and get all the oxygen because I need it, because that's the only thing I have. And today it's going to numb me this way, tomorrow it's going to numb me this way. The moment I say, Lo yamus ki yechya, v'asapa ma'aseka, I won't die, I'm going to live. Of course I want to live. You want to live. Which soul doesn't want to live? Of course you want to live. This monster inside of you decided you don't want to live, because that's how he feeds off you. If you're a shmata, if you're a worthless shmata, I could feed off you. You're like a carcass. I saw on one of the blocks, there was a bird that died, and all the vultures came. And I was watching the vultures eating, and it's like, you see how it works. As long as you're a carcass, you're a dead nevela, everybody comes to eat from you. Why do I want you alive? The moment you're alive, nobody can eat from you. You realize that, yeah? When people are alive, nobody can feed off them. When people are dead, you become a nevela, everybody comes to eat and realize they're all there right away. You understand? They come right away. They smell. You got to give them credit. They smell carcasses like nobody else. I don't know how. They don't give you 2 seconds. The carcass is dead. Boom! They're here. They're here faster than the Chaver Kadisha. Well, it begins with awareness, but the issue is that the nervous system is sometimes shot and the emotional experience is shot. But it begins with this awareness. So these souls were chosen for a crazy, crazy mission. But he says the relationship they have with Hashem is unbelievable because they're the ones who are fulfilling the Pnimiyus Ratzon Hashem to win the war. They're on the front lines. They're the foot soldiers. They're not sitting, in the Pentagon's offices with maps. They're in the front lines. They get all the treasures. There's people on the front lines. Emotionally, these are the people on the front lines. And that's what we have to remember, that everyone who went through these types of experiences, who's going through these types of experiences, it's not a punishment. It's a mission. And the moment you identify it as a mission, meaning, I am beyond this. I'm not dirty. I'm not filthy. I was sent on a mission. This is not who I am. I was sent here. You're already a different person. You're a completely different person. This is the source of all cleansing and healing. So Hashem celebrates these souls. Can you celebrate yourself like God celebrates you? How could I? The klippa takes over. I don't celebrate myself. I'm busy blaming myself. Raza de Miller, the Zohar continues, the secret of this is, Sharyan kegavna de la'ela. These souls are a mirror of above, of Hashem. Guf ispigim v'loy nishmasa. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says in Zohar, the body could be blemished, not the soul. Meaning, pirush. K'moy shebemalchus abgam rak mibchinas alavushim avaloi b'pnimiyusam chas v'sholem. K'moy kenayin nika shemehem v'rak michitziniyosim b'vado b'pnimiyusam kula dachin kula kaddish. Just like in Malchus. Malchus can't really be blemished. The garments can be blemished, but not the core. So the nurture that the klippas get from Malchus is only the external element. So the nurture they get from these souls is only from the external layer, never from the core. The core of the soul remains pure. Dachian is pure. Kaddishin is holy, untarnished, unscathed, untethered. That's the word, the untethered nature of the soul. Klippa wants you to be tethered. Weißt was tethered is? Geknippt und gebunden und verhackt und verwundet und verjavet. Entangled with hundreds of knots. Untethered means it's pure. This is me, this is not me. Maybe you're near me, but you're not me. Maybe you're even inside of me, but you're not me. The problem is when you're inside of me, how do I know what's me, what's not me? That's the Nachash and Chava. That's the story. Ba Nachash al Chava. Taruv is Toivera. To be able to identify these things